Good evening, everyone. Welcome to your tarot reading. So I just want to remind you that the purpose of this reading is to figure out what kind of negative energy you might be carrying in your life, possibly. I just want to emphasize that this reading isn't going to resonate with everyone. So take whatever resonates with you personally, and you can just leave whatever doesn't. But going back to before I begin the negative energy thing, when I think of a curse or any similar energies like that, I think of this negative energy, whether you may be burdened with that or maybe it might have accumulated, you may be carrying that with you, and that may be continuing to sort of affect certain areas of your life. That's what I really see it as, is just negative energy. I mean, I feel like everything is just energy, and it is your choice to continue carrying it or release it. So with that, okay, so I'm just going to get straight into the reading. So we have 3 piles here. So the first pile is represented by this sort of like olive color stone. The second pile is represented by this smooth black stone. And then the third pile is represented by this sort of like translucent shell colored stone. So once again, we have piles 1, 2, and 3. So I'm just going to count down from 10, and don't think about it too much. Just go with your gut instinct to decide. So I'm going to count down to 10 starting now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so if you've made your decision, I'm going to just go straight into pile 1. Okay, so here we have pile 1. Let's see what we have for you guys. Are you carrying any negativity in your love life? So immediately I'm seeing, so you can be a man or a woman or identify with either gender, any kind of gender, and have this energy. But here I'm getting, so Princess of Cups energy. So I think here we may have a case, to put it frankly, so emotionally empty cup syndrome, or just empty cup syndrome in general, where you might always feel like, whether it's in your mind or your heart, you always feel like you're carrying an empty cup. And no matter how much you fill it with whatever it may be, attention, affection, fill in the blank, you might always feel like, oh, suddenly my cup's empty again. So empty cup syndrome, that's kind of what I'm getting. This may even have transpired into your love life, where you felt like you were maybe seeking some kind of surface level experiences, relationships, or hookups with people, but not quite really getting to know them on a deeper level, or vice versa. That might have happened in the past, or may even be continuing to happen, or you may be carrying some of that with you. And also I'm seeing some tension, some conflicts due to that for some reason. So let's see if this is affecting your work life in any way. So I'm seeing that your work life seems pretty social, pretty fast-paced, maybe a bit competitive, but not necessarily anything negative here. I'm not seeing that much negativity in your work life. I am seeing you have some strong fire energy, whether that's in your sun, moon, or Venus sign or rising in your natal chart. You may have some like Sagittarius, Aries, Leo energy. I think you're a quite sociable person, but also you could be a bit impulsive. That fire energy, once again, maybe not really thinking things through before jumping into them, possibly. That could be the case. And here we have, so I'm guessing that either in your past or currently, you may have been in some situations, maybe even at work or through work acquaintances or people you've met through work, or friends of employees, your fellow employees or colleagues. You may have had some flirtations with them, going back and forth, and you see these bosses around these two people in the center. So that, I think that goes back to that emotional cup syndrome. You may be trying to fill these vases that you have, these empty vases in your mind or heart. You're filling with all kinds of things here, as you can see. But emotional cup syndrome, it really is just I think just in your thoughts, though. This is not reality necessarily. So let's go into how you can maybe improve the situation. So I'm seeing here, so building blocks. So I think maybe this applies to in your love life, like maybe before jumping into things too fast, too hard, too much passion, maybe try to get to know the other person, whether they're networks, they're friends, build something like a common foundation. But if you see that they're not healthy for you, obviously you need to walk away immediately. And here I'm seeing regeneration. So I'm seeing that if you really work on yourself, try to figure out maybe a part of yourself that you might have been disconnected from somewhere in your past. You can regenerate yourself, kind of like a phoenix rising from the ashes. You have that fiery energy once again. And the way to do that, okay, so I'm seeing here unfinished symphony. So I'm getting that maybe there might have been some hopes and dreams or desires that you might have had in your past that you might have kind of become disconnected with. Unfinished dreams, maybe unfinished hopes and dreams, desires that maybe that's the reason for the emotional cup syndrome, because you're trying to fill that emptiness with other things. Maybe that could be it. That could be the root. I'm going to delve into some more ways you can maybe work on that. Okay, so here I'm seeing the military person card. Within the Kipper system, this has a different meaning, but within this reading, my intuition is just telling me that I think maybe you need to set some firm boundaries, but with yourself. Like, maybe write down a list of things that you will or will not accept from yourself. Like, are you treating yourself in a healthy way? Are you doing right by yourself? If that's not the case, you need to have kind of a strict approach with yourself and discipline yourself to treat yourself better. So here, and once again, I'm seeing hope, big dreams. So yeah, I highly recommend, if there's any homework here that I can give out to you to improve this, if you feel like this reading resonates with you so far, I recommend taking some time to sit down, get out your favorite notebook, do a brief timeline of your life, a chronology of your life, starting from your first feeling of consciousness as a child throughout young adulthood to now. Write down all your experiences, negative and positive. Look at possible patterns where you felt like this emotional cup syndrome was affecting me, or I was doing something in a way that wasn't healthy for myself. And try to, I think, pinpoint that time in your life when you kind of became disconnected with, maybe when you were a child, you had all these hopes and dreams, places you wanted to go, things you wanted to achieve, but then you kind of became, at one point, kind of disconnected from that. Well, reconnect with that again. And I think you can do that. And then here we're going to have a big change. So see, you're lifting yourself up in this hot air balloon, being swept up by the winds of change. I think you can do that. I mean, I really believe in you, group 2. So taking it one step further, I'm going to go into these affirmator cards here and just read them to you. So here we have wholeness. So I am complete, whole, and filled with love. I have everything I need. If I ask or look for more, I'm ignoring the love and gifts that are already in my life. Instead, I'll be grateful and acknowledge that anything else would be extra icing on life's cake. So wholeness, I think that's really important. Going back to that emotional cup syndrome, emotionally empty cup syndrome. And then here we have perspective. So what does a hawk see when it flies over your house, besides the family of mice living nearby that you don't know about? What will your current problems, conflicts, and complaints look like when you're 80 years old and you gaze back on the timeline of your life? In this moment, you are being given the gift of clear perspective, of knowing that in the end, everything is going to be probably much better than okay. Think large enough, and even big issues become small. Become an 80-year-old hawk and you're really onto something. So once again, the importance of perspective. Really think long term. Like, this path that I'm currently on, is it going to fulfill me short term, or is it going to fulfill me in the long term? Like, when I'm 80 years old, what am I going to look back on and regret not doing, or regret doing even? Like, what am I going to think when I'm 80, looking back on now? Am I on the right path currently? So I think that's a really important thing, perspective. And here we have self-worth. That's very important. I cast off all concerns about what people think of me. I know I'm a totally kick-ass person, and my kick-assness can never be diminished by rejection. So people can think what they think and feel what they feel. In the meantime, I'll just keep on knowing what I know without thinking about what they are thinking about what I already know, I think. That's quite funny. But self-worth, as you can see, this person, I think once you really, like I said, get in touch with yourself, make a timeline for your of your life, like a brief timeline, and then look at patterns that have been continuously happening in your life where things you haven't really been making healthy choices, or maybe you've been seeking fulfillment in short term, like things that are only fulfilling in the short term, but you know that it wasn't fulfilling in the long run in a really deep way, and work on those things, work on changing yourself for the better, getting into that your higher self, and you will lift yourself up, like on this podium, as you can see here with the self-worth. Okay, so that's all I have for group 1, but I hope this was helpful. I hope this was informative. So like, comment, subscribe, share if this resonated with you. I'm going to move straight onto group 2 without further ado. So group 2, represented by this black stone. So let's see what we have for group 2. Has this negative energy been affecting your love life? So here I'm immediately seeing illusion. So quite frankly, I'm kind of getting from this card that maybe you are the type to meet somebody new and have certain expectations of them, like thinking, oh, if you're a woman, like, oh, they're going to be my Prince Charming, or they're going to fix all my problems. If you're a man, you may even go into it thinking, this is my ultimate manic pixie dream girl, and they're going to fix all my make all my dreams come true, fix all my problems, my insecurities. But that's just an illusion that you're projecting onto the other person. You're not really getting to know them for who they really are, and that can lead to problems. So here we have, so Romeo and Juliet, and I know this has different connotations, obviously a whole story behind it. But within this reading, my intuition is telling me that this may even be a karmic pattern that you've been repeating in the past, where you feel as though you are kind of maybe like self-destruction. I'm getting. Excuse me, I had to take a sip of my drink. Because so some self-destruction, karmic energy maybe that you've been repeating, where you feel like this is fate. I can't walk away from this partnership or relationship or dynamic. If you're a man, you're thinking, I can't walk away from my Juliet. If you're a woman, you're thinking, I can't walk away from my Romeo. But if it's an unhealthy, destructive situation, you need to walk away. Okay, that's all I'm getting from this card. And also, going back to that illusion, so if you look at this card, there's this couple, or these people. They've set up this kind of illusion of being entrapped in maybe like a prison, but it's an illusion. As you can see, this illusion, this white mist of illusion, but this isn't a real prison. They're made of wooden poles. You can, knock down the poles. You can even walk away. But once again, it's an illusion, this feeling of entrapment that you build for yourself, possibly in love, this sort of karmic, sort of self-destructive situation where you kind of project things onto the other person and not really get to know them for who they really are. And it could be that you may even put up with maybe some harmful behaviors or just dynamics that aren't healthy because of these illusions that you do project onto the relationship ultimately. So let's maybe delve into how this may have impacted you in a work situation, possibly. So here we have the Devil card, and this isn't necessarily a negative card, but it is kind of pointing to the fact that maybe you have either chosen to stay or chosen situations in work situations where you felt like you may have been giving too much of yourself, or you may have, once again, projecting the illusions, not seeing things for what they really are. Kind of like that Faustian energy where you sign a deal somebody signs a deal with the devil, but in the end, I mean, they're being offered things, but in the end, they're being exploited. They're not getting what they put in to the situation. And I think in that kind of situation, you need to see reality. You need to see things for what they really are, and you need to walk away, find a way to get out of that situation if need be. Like here we have in this card, so we have a repetition. We have, once again, kind of going back to that same card here with the false imprisonment. Like, it's not a real prison. This is an illusion. You're kind of entrapping yourself, I think, or you have been possibly in this situation where you keep repeating the same situation within different variations and expecting different results. But it's an illusion, once again. You can knock down these poles. You could even walk through or walk away from these wooden poles here. It's an illusion here. And then here we have the Queen of Swords, where so this person has put themselves high up on some sort of podium or something. You know, the Queen of Swords, you can be male and have this energy as well, or identify with the male gender, but this is somebody who's cold and detached, who's kind of isolated themselves, or maybe even they're defensive possibly, or jaded because they've been through this same karmic sort of experience over and over and over, and that's going to take a toll on your mind and heart. So that's ultimately what I'm getting. Okay, so let's see how you can fix whatever this is. If this is resonating with you, let's see how we can fix this. Okay, so here we have the clock card. So I'm getting that within your love relationships, I think maybe you need to take time to get to know the other person, get to know who they really are, like maybe even be friends with them first. Really just observe them. Like, am I comfortable with their behaviors? How do they act towards their friends and family? How do I react to their behaviors? Are we ultimately compatible? You know, I think you need to take time to just kind of observe their behaviors. Here we have the Not For You card. So I think that beyond the illusions, like once again, okay, so we have this quote from Oprah that says, I know this famous quote, I think Oprah is the one who said this, or was it, oh no, I think it was Maya Angelou, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, yeah, Maya Angelou. So she said, when people show you who they really are, believe them. So I think it's really ultimately saying, when people show you their true colors and they show themselves to you and you feel like they're not for you, then you need to walk away, because that's ultimately what you need to do for yourself. And another thing you could keep in mind is mending. So this is a mending card. So as you can see, there are these two children. They're mending a kite, and once they mend that kite, they're gonna fly that kite into this beautiful blue sky, and they're gonna have damn fun doing it. And I know that you can do that for yourself, group 2. I think anyone can. Anyone has a choice to mend their past, to mend themselves, to fix themselves, and to ultimately create a better situation for themselves. So let's see what some other measures we can take to maybe mend this situation. Okay, so here we have house. So whatever you consider to be your home energy, your home, your hearth, whatever is home to you, whether that's family, your roots, where you come from, what you consider home, you need to really go back to that and connect to that again. Kind of going back to, taking out your favorite notebook, writing down like a short timeline chronology of your life, looking for certain patterns where things might have gone awry, where you could have made different choices. Or maybe even look for exit routes. Like, I don't like this situation. How do I get out of this? And then find a situation that I'm comfortable with. Just looking at like, oh, what can I learn from the past? And I think that starts from connecting to your roots, like where you come from, where you ultimately consider home, whether that be emotionally or mentally, or even a physical place. And then here we have expectation. So I think this is you kind of going through the same motions, the same patterns over and over, and expecting different results. And that is like an illusion, though. I mean, you can get out of that. And then here we have bereavement. So whenever we are kind of moving on from one phase of our lives and moving on to the next, transitioning to the next phase, you need to take some time to mourn your previous self, your previous phase, because you are saying goodbye to a certain part of yourself, some unhealthy parts of yourself that might not have served you. Kind of like when a butterfly breaks out of its cocoon, you have to say goodbye. The butterfly has to kind of say goodbye to to their old self as a caterpillar, and they have to drop their cocoon. They have to they can't carry the cocoon with them. They have to drop it and then fly away, the butterfly that they are. Speaking of butterflies, so here we have, okay, so I'm going to read some affirmator cards for you. So here we have, I'm a catch. Butterfly. So I'm a total catch, and I know all the reasons why. I know that anyone would be lucky to be with me, and that doesn't mean I'm arrogant or snobby. Self-respect is just one of many qualities exhibited by this complete and utter babe. So I'm a catch. So once again, going back to being able to break free of being that caterpillar, break free of that cocoon. You got to drop the burden of the cocoon and fly away. And, that's ultimately, you have to really believe that you are a catch. In your highest self, your highest vibrational energy. Okay, so here we have cleansing. So feeling bogged down by the weight of 1,000 thoughts, feelings, boxes of mystery objects lurking in your closets, consider this a prescription to clean house, mentally, physically, literally, figuratively, and anything else that applies adverbally. It's hard to make room for new connections and experiences when every bit of your emotional space is cluttered with psychic bric-a-brac. So enjoy a major guilt-free flush out, and not to worry, you can always find new psychic bric-a-brac in the metaphorical clutter section of Craigslist. So cleansing. So I'm thinking you just need to Marie Kondo your life, emotionally, mentally, physically. Once again, going back to that list, that chronology, a timeline of your life from childhood to young adulthood to now, and then looking for patterns in that timeline, like where did things go wrong? What can I learn from this? What could I have done differently? Were there exit routes that I could have taken that I can even take now that I can use to my advantage in the future? This wisdom, this knowledge that you can gain from some self-reflection, connecting with your inner self. I think cleansing is a part of that. Anything that you feel like is clutter, that's unnecessary within yourself, you have to Marie Kondo that. Okay, so next we have acceptance. So I think this goes back to, that idea that when people show you who they really are, my cat. Okay, so acceptance. When people show you who they truly are, you have to believe them. So here we have acceptance. When I get to know new people, I accept their actual traits rather than the ones I project on them. Same goes for not new people I already know. Acceptance is a delicate art that reminds us everyone is on their own unique self and we can't expect them to ever be anything but. Man, how do these snowflakes do it? So once again, we have acceptance. So, if somebody's showing their true colors, you're not comfortable with it, it doesn't feel right to you, you have to find some way, some exit strategy that you can take to put yourself in a situation that you do feel comfortable with. So that is all I have for group 2. I hope this was helpful. Like, comment, subscribe, share if this video resonated with you, and I'm going to move straight on to group 3 here. So group 3 represented by this translucent sort of shell colored stone. Okay, so let's see if any negative energy has been affecting you in your love life. So here I'm seeing that, quite frankly put, you may be the type of person to put your needs, or to have trouble putting your needs first. You might even put your needs last quite often. Like here, okay, here we have, so in this card, as you can see, we have this maiden. You could be male and have this energy as well. We have this maiden carrying all these arrows on their own. There's a person sleeping next to them in this bed. They have not a care in the world, this person, but you have taken it upon yourself to carry all these arrows on your own, and that's not a way that somebody should live. Nobody deserves to carry all of these burdens on their own, because you will have sleepless nights, you will have emotional stress, and it will show up on your body. So I'm just saying, you really have to learn to respect yourself. I think it's all about healthy boundaries, and I think that this sort of mode of this behavioral patterns have maybe led to a bit of maybe letdowns or disappointment. Maybe feeling like you've been let down or taken for granted. You've been feeling like, I've been putting all this in, but I don't really get back those things in return, and that's led to some disappointment or letdowns here. So let's see what we can do. Oh, actually, okay, wait. First, let's see if this negative energy has maybe affected your work life in any way. Let's see how we can maybe work on that. So, yeah, here I'm seeing that maybe even at work, I see that I think you're probably a really responsible worker that a lot of people depend on in your work life, but you are carrying all these burden emotions. I mean, look at all these cups, represent emotions. It represents things going on internally. So they're filled with all sorts of things, and you are carrying these burdens by yourself. And you really need to learn how to, I think, delegate. You need to learn how to share the burdens, because it's all about balance. And here we have, so temperance. I think maybe you are a bit of a people pleaser. You tend to go with the flow. Literally, you don't really speak up with your needs, your wants, your needs. You don't really delegate, ask for help, ask for support when you need to. And I think that may be where the problem lies. And then here we have maybe some energies that you might attract or may see around you, possibly on occasion. People, things, holding out these big cups, expecting you to fill these cups, but it is not your job. Okay? It is your job to do your job, but it's not your job to take it upon yourself to handle every other person's problems, to give out more than you're receiving, because it's all about balance and having healthy boundaries. Like if there are two cups, your cup and then an external person or thing's cup that represents each other's needs, or whatever you need to put into a project, a job, or whatever it may be, a relationship, there's a balance that needs to be there. They need to fill your cup, you need to fill their cup. It needs to be balanced. It can't always be you filling the other person or things or whatever it may be. You can't always be filling their cup. There has to be a balance for it to be a healthy dynamic. So let's just go into maybe how you can work on this. So here we have gloomy thoughts. So I think that ultimately, if you are having some gloomy thoughts, all these burdens you're carrying, maybe you feel like you're trapped with these burdens, you need to inch yourself away from this cliff of gloomy thoughts or depression or just feeling bogged down. Inch yourself, and you need to force yourself to run away from this cliff, because it really is about just kind of really trying to be strong, inner strength, and really, even though it's hard, like pulling yourself away from that figurative sort of cliff of I'm gonna feel bogged down or gloomy. Well, maybe try even faking it till you make it. If you do need professional help, or you're having mental health issues or anything where you need professional help, I do recommend seeking it, like going to a counselor or therapist, even reaching out to friends or partner or whatever it may be. But yeah, I think that you can also try, for the most part, really forcing yourself to maybe go take a walk, exercise, try eating better, eating foods that aren't so processed, things that weigh you down. Try to eat healthy, natural things that come from nature. I think that really helps more than you think. So that's just a little tidbit. But if you do need professional help, I do highly recommend seeking it out if you need it, whether that be therapy, counseling, seeking to a spiritual leader of some kind, family, friends. I do recommend reaching out, because carrying that burden on your own, that is definitely, no one deserves that burden. Okay, so here is a little child. So whether you have children or you may have children in your life, a child, you need to connect with your inner child. I really recommend getting out a notebook, possibly like a favorite notebook, taking some time for yourself and really just jotting down a timeline of your life. Like I said, for the other groups, jot down a timeline, a brief chronology of your life from childhood to young adulthood to now. Maybe look at the patterns look at patterns that you felt were unhealthy or didn't really serve you. Maybe think about, how did you feel? What actions did you take? How could you have done things differently? What could I learn from these experiences? And it will be uncomfortable trying to venture out of the same old behaviors, but that's the way it's going to be if you really want change, some sort of change in your life. And I think a part of that comes with connecting with your inner child. Like, what do you really need? What do you really need emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually to feel nourished in your life in order to function healthily? Whether that be, speaking with a therapist, or, having some me time, doing good things for your body, whether that be healthier eating or exercise, or maybe even, taking some time to just socialize and bond with your friends and family. Whatever it may be, I highly recommend tuning in with your inner child, your inner needs. Like, what do you really need to feel healthy and happy? And I think part of that involves, okay, so here we have receiving gifts. Part of that involves being able to receive, instead of always being the one to give, you have to learn to just be receptive and receive when other people offer help or gifts or good things. Learn to just sit back and receive, because that's also healthy as well. Okay, so let's take this one step further and figure out if there's any other ways that you can fix this issue. So here we have new life. I think maybe, you once again going back to that, connecting with your inner self, connecting with your inner needs, that's going to kind of open up a new way of thinking and behaving and living, where you feel more in tune with that inner part of you that you may have lost touch with along the way. So here we have to be fair. So in any dynamic, whether it be a job or relationship or any kind of dynamic, there needs to be a balance. You have to really weigh out, like, am I giving as much as I'm receiving from this? Am I getting what I really need? Am I, being appreciated? Like, maybe I'm giving too much and expecting everything, to be, all of that to be returned to me, but that may not always be the case. And it's nice to just kind of weigh it out and make sure that things are balanced. And then here we have yin. So if you know anything about the concept of yin and yang, yang is about putting things out, externalized, go energy, doing. It's masculine energy, but this is yin. So this is like a feminine energy that may be out of whack here. You really need to build that receptive, just kind of receiving, just getting in touch with your sort of feminine yin energy. What do you really need to feel nourished? Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and learn to receive from the world. That's important. Giving is important, doing is important, but sometimes receiving, being in tune with your own needs is the first step to being in tune with others' needs. Okay, so here we have affirmators. So I'm gonna take it one step further, and then I'm gonna read some affirmators out to you. So once again, so here we have receiving. It's quite important as much as giving. I open up and allow myself to receive love in all ways from all directions. It may seem scary, but it's better than receiving audits, bedbugs, or hate mail. I receive love, and it feels so good that I decide to receive it some more, and then some more, and maybe just a wee bit more. So going back to that receiving, it's important to be able to receive. So here we have sensuality. Embracing sensuality doesn't necessarily mean you're a middle-aged swinger. It simply means you're savoring one of the coolest aspects of being alive, sensory input. It's time to get decadent and reward yourself with gifts for the senses. You could drop a wad of cash on champagne and chocolate, or you could tune in and enjoy the incredible gifts around you, the taste of an orange, the sounds of the forest, the texture of corduroy. I don't know your life. The point is, it's time to savor whatever your senses can grab hold of, even if that means you're being sensual. So sensuality kind of ties into, being in touch with your yin energy, receiving, feeling, sensing, really being in tune with yourself, feeling nourished emotionally, mentally, being conscious of even, what am I putting in my body? Like, even as small as things like that, are these things that are healthy, fresh gifts from nature? Or is this, am I going to eat this and feel like really bogged down because it's, you know, heavily processed. You know what I mean? It's just little things, or just enjoying smells, sights, sounds. Just being in touch with your, you know, being receptive to that part of yourself is actually really important, and really helps you get in tune with yourself. So here's boundaries. So I claim my right to set healthy boundaries, and I allow others to do the same. Sometimes personal space is taken, and sometimes it's given. And sometimes, if you're on the subway, it's completely disregarded and shamelessly invaded. I guess it depends on the day. So that's kind of funny. But yes, boundaries are very important, and I think that's a big element of, it's a big part of being able to receive and even be sensual can only really be done when you have that space to receive, when you have those healthy boundaries, it's backwards. Okay, yeah, when you have those healthy boundaries, you know, that space where you do allow yourself to feel, you know, sounds, sights, smells, taste, being in tune with yourself, you know, not disconnected. So I think that's very important. So that's all I have for group 3. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was somewhat eye-opening. So like, comment, subscribe, share if this video resonated with you, and I will see you later, group 3.